So, welcome to what is another update in this app building series. Now, it's been a couple of weeks. I haven't been able to do too much, although this weekend is Easter weekend in the UK, so we get like 4 days off, and I have been able to actually. So today is Saturday, and I actually genuinely have had some time to be able to look at the project on Thursday and yesterday, and now today I'm getting ready to do some now. The really annoying thing, and it's genuinely frustrated me so much, is that Xcode has decided that I updated Xcode and then it decided it just couldn't work with the simulators. And so when I was running the project, it actually was just throwing all the errors up of not the project itself, but in all the background code of how it couldn't work with the simulators. And so it wouldn't run the code and it wouldn't talk to the simulators. There was a workaround that I found online. So I was able to uninstall the simulators, reinstall the simulators, then uninstalled Xcode, reinstalled Xcode. And it's just been that basically those couple of 2 days of just trying to figure out how to get it to work. Now, what I have done after that is I got really frustrated, and all of the files that I normally keep on that I want to keep on my laptop, I kind of keep on an external drive. So it wasn't too much of a headache to literally just wipe the whole thing. And I factory reset it. I've installed Xcode again, and Xcode is working. So that's great. However, when I then pulled my project from GitHub, I found that the errors are still stuck in the code. So it won't talk to, for example, it can't find a simulator to run the iPad mini version of the simulator. And because of that, it's throwing all of this background code out that is now not letting me run the project, which is just it's driving me nuts. So I'm now going to be going headfirst into creating a new project, taking the code that I can, copy and paste in, which actually is going to probably work out very well because this back end bug of Swift data not working with my back end, again, has been frustrating me a lot. I can't find a way around it. So I was going to switch over to core data, which I started investigating, but I don't understand why Swift data isn't working with it. And I can't find any issue. So what I'm going to do is bring my backend over to this new project in little chunks and just test to make sure everything's working. If it isn't at any point, either I can break the laptop or I can be able to then just delete that and put in core data. So that's what I might do. And yeah, I'm generally getting frustrated at this point that the project is actually very simple in its elements and it's taken me this long to get this far, which is a pain. But I've been stuck on this bit, this whole back end bit for ages, when really, in essence, it should be very simple. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'm going to make a coffee. I'm going to get upstairs and I'm going to start working on this code, moving the stuff across from one place to the other. And yeah, we'll see how far we get. I've got about a couple of hours before the family has to get up and we have to go somewhere to an appointment. So yeah, let's see how much we can get done, and then hopefully more later. I've still got Sunday and Monday to better work on this, so I plan on crashing out a lot, but we all know what no plan survives contact with the enemy, does it? So we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, let's get to it. Okay, so I've been working on this a little while now. Apologize for the sort of lack of updates between the two events. I've kind of gone from the what I'm going to do to kind of where I am now, which I'll explain. So I've been copying and pasting. I made a new project. I've copied and pasted the code I need as I've built it up. Okay, so first of all is the calendar view, as all of the stuff to do with the calendar is kind of independent of any data management in the back end. So that's fine. I've started making the views up and I've brought across, like I've said before in previous videos, there's two sort of sets of data that I'm copying and keeping in the back end that I'm saving. One is events that happen during the day. So these are just events. Let's just keep it like that. Now, in the I'm just dealing with them for the moment because there's an array of strings. that I want it to save. And this array is what seems to be causing the most problems. And I don't understand why, because in theory, just an array of strings is codable. It should be written and wrote and received like simple enough. But for some reason it isn't. And it's just not been able to like save the events properly. It can't bring them back, and it causes an error in the console every single time, which is a little bit of an issue. And this is really what I've been fighting with in the previous iteration of this. And I can't seem to get around it, which is really annoying because it doesn't seem to be a reason why. But the latest thing of what I've got is when I enter a new event and I save it, um, I asked it to print the array of saved data, of the saved array. And it's giving me, I've just tried it and it's giving me an empty array. So now I'm going to try and troubleshoot the new entry view and specifically target that and see if I can get what it's saving. And if I can get it to save something, maybe that will work. But at this point, what I've done is I've now taken out the array of strings. I've now made it its own model, which is just a string called trigger, and that's being saved with the relationship to the event of model. So I'm trying to like separate it as much as I can and try and pinpoint where this is going wrong. And hopefully I'll get to a conclusion of it. If not, I've posted online a couple of times that I've started researching core data and I'm going to do that. So yeah, I really don't want to do that though, because it's just this is future-proofing it really, and it should be simple data. Like there's nothing else. It's strings. It's just arrays of strings. It shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, it's not like it. So I'm going to try and now troubleshoot this view, get it to pass in everything that it should do, which these functions should be fine. But anyway, I'm going to do basically a bunch of print statements through my code, and then I'm going to use it, and I'm going to see what comes up, and I can see where the sequence is breaking, and I'll be coming back to you. Right. So now we have some results. It's a little bit later in the day. I've had to do some stuff and then come back to it. Hence the actually gelled hair instead of that frizziness that was there earlier. But we've got it fixed. So finally, I've had a result for this bug. So what it was obviously the array wasn't working in with the Swift data. The reason is because the array wasn't actually populating with anything. Every array was empty. It wasn't like it wasn't being recalled, it just wasn't being there to be saved. Now, the reason that this was happening was because of something that I did in my code. And to diagnose it, I basically put on the entry view. So on the new entry view, when you're entering an entry, I just put print statements on everything to do with the array. So I had a message for any stage of what was happening. And it works out that even when you were tapping the button, nothing was happening, nothing was registering in the method that I wanted afterwards. So what I'd done was there was a on the I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. So on the actual button for a possible trigger, I created a view for this so that I could reuse it in the actual, new entry view. And on that view, to change the way that its appearance looked when it was selected or not selected, I'd obviously created a Boolean, and then I created two options. Now, this Boolean I'd set as false to be automatic, and then on a tap gesture, that would change, and it would toggle on and off to selected and unselected. Then, in the new entry view, I was populating a for each to go through an array of strings that would then create all of these buttons. And on that, in the for each, I was putting an on tap gesture, which was then performing the function to add or remove it from the array, depending on if it had been selected or unselected. Now, what I didn't realize is that this on tap gesture wasn't being fired in the new entry view because when it was being tapped, it was registering to the tap gesture in the construction of the view, if you're following me. So what I had to do then was I unset, it was an unspecified bool. It just was left as open. Then on the for each, I then put the Boolean to be whether this current string of the title was in the array. And then obviously as it was removed or added, it then changes the ball to true or false. And then, yeah, everything was being fired in the for each part of the function. And so now, because everything's firing together, it's now adding and removing it correctly from the array, which means then it's saving. And now when I go to a detail view of these entries that I've made, it recalls the array. So everything's fine. So after all of that time, that was basically what has happened, was that it was not registering. I'd put effectively two tap gestures to be looked at. And obviously when it's being tapped, it was firing one, which is crazy. So a good lesson for myself, and obviously for you, if you've got bugs in your code, just print statements everywhere. On every single moving part, put a print statement. And then if there's ever an issue, you can pinpoint which ones aren't firing, and then you know where to look, which is, yeah, which is brilliant. And also, this does teach you a little bit about AI, because I was going through feeding it sections of code, just going, is there any errors here that could make this not work and this not work and this not work? And I was feeding little sections just to see, is there an error in this passage that I'm not that I'm missing, typo, something? And it was picking up nothing. It really didn't. It's just logically just trying to go through it myself that I ended up being able to find out what was wrong with it. So that's, yeah, couple of lessons there. So now that this is working, I'm going to relook, sort out the detail view for all the entries, and then I'm going to incorporate in the daily behaviors and that functionality of the app. And then functionality wise, we're actually kind of there. I need to relook at the GoPro view, and I've got something that I want to do in the settings. But otherwise, we just need to tighten things up. Maybe animate a few things just to make it look smoother. And we're going to be looking on target to get this released very, very soon. This bug was literally the thing that was holding me back, which was driving me crazy because I didn't understand why a simple array wouldn't populate. But anyway, we are now looking good and it's going to work. So we're back again. It's another morning with the crazy fluffy hair. So everything's copied across. We've got the behavior, it's the other side of the entries, the behavior side for like the overall day. That's all in there, and that's all working correctly as well. So that's persisting through the Swift data, and the views all work fine. I've tested it on my device, and there's a couple of little issues that I have to look at. So with the entry view, there's a bunch of different buttons, which was the ones causing the problems with the array. Now, obviously, there are two columns of these, but it sort of gets halfway through the columns, it's doing them side by side, and then it switches to just doing them on one side, which is a bit strange. So I need to look at that. I need to look at a couple of adjustments on the UI for the dark mode, because yeah, it shows a few things that it shouldn't do. And the last view that I really, well, what I'm going to build next is the detail view. I just need to sort that out for when you look at the entries. Um, but otherwise, yeah, that's perfectly, we're looking pretty good. So yeah, it's been a successful weekend. Again, it's one of those times where it'd be nice to do extra time on the code, but it's fine. I've been finding those little moments, hence all of the changes all the time in between shots. But yeah, little moments of time through a weekend to try and get this done. So it's been good to actually get that sorted, and just so good to get that bug fixed. So now it's going to be that sort of annoying bit of just trying to figure out all these little bugs of just making sure everything looks correct. And I need to do a lot of tests between dark mode and light mode just to make sure everything looks fine. And yeah, we should be almost pretty good to go, which is great. So I'm looking forward to that. And lessons learned as well. But anyway, that's sort of keep rambling on here. That's basically where we're at. So the app's taking a good step forward. So have a good week. Thank you for watching. We will see you again on another update soon.